1995 marks the United Nations' 50th anniversary. The UN was established in the aftermath of World War II to help stabilize international relations and give peace a more secure foundation. The vision of the late U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt in creating the UN is related by Sir Brian Urquhart, a member of the UN Secretariat from its beginning.
And this was due to the lead of the United States, because the United States had started what was called post-war planning in 1939 already, under the leadership of, the very personal leadership of Franklin Roosevelt, in order to ensure that by the time the war ended, there was in place a blueprint for a better world.
In San Francisco at the War Memorial Building, the United Nations Charter was ratified by the majority of the 50 nations who signed the document on the 26th of June, 1945. The organization came into being the following October. "50 years later, in that same historic building, U.S. President Bill Clinton joins envoys from over 100 countries to commemorate the event.
Today we honor the men and women who gave shape to the United Nations. We celebrate 50 years of achievement. We commit ourselves to real reforms. We reject the siren song of the new isolationists. We set a clear agenda worthy of the vision of our founders. The challenge of building a good and lasting peace is in our hands, and success is within our reach. Let us not forget that each child saved, each refugee housed, each disease prevented, each barrier to justice brought down, each sword turned into a plowshare, brings us closer to the vision of our founders, closer to peace, closer to freedom, closer to dignity.
The historic significance of the Charter is told by Australian Ambassador Robert Butler, chairman of the UN's 50th Anniversary Committee.
The Charter of the United Nations is a truly gifted document. It stands alongside the Magna Carta, the Rights of Man, the Declaration of Independence of the United States as one of the truly clear-sighted visions by humankind of how relations between human beings and between states, countries, should be managed to the benefit of all. It has at its core peace, equality, justice, and development.
Today, amid endless regional conflicts, peacekeeping has become an overriding concern of the UN. United States UN Ambassador Madeleine Albright.
What I see it as is an incredible learning process, an attempt by the international community to fashion a tool to deal with very specific current problems. And each of the peacekeeping operations is a lesson learned from the previous one and is an adjustment. And I foresee that peacekeeping will continue to evolve and adjust and learn the lessons that it has from the negative ones from Somalia and the positive ones from Cambodia, just to use two examples.
The United Nations is more than a peacekeeper and forum for conflict resolution. The UN and its family of agencies are engaged in a vast array of work, including child survival and health services, environmental protection, refugee relief, monitoring human rights abuses, promoting democracy. On its 50th anniversary, the United Nations faces a difficult challenge, upholding the Charter's principles to create a world more tolerant, peaceful, productive, and humane than any generation has known. Ambassador Albright places the commemoration in a historical perspective.
It is very important as we celebrate the 50th anniversary to remember that the UN didn't really emerge from a dream, but from a nightmare, to make sure that that nightmare would never be repeated. And therefore, it is very much tied to the fact that the founders of the UN and the original signatories wanted to have a better world and to make sure that the horrors would not come back.
Let us gain renewed strength and energy and vigor from the progress which has been made and the opportunities which are plainly before us. Let us say no to isolation, yes to reform, yes to a brave, ambitious new agenda. Most of all, yes to the dream of the United Nations.